What's up, family? Welcome back to another legendary reaction video. So we got Nikola Jokic proves Larry Bird would destroy today's NBA. So with no further ado, family, if you want to see any other basketball reaction videos, comment down below and let's go.
One thing we're told 24/7 as NBA fans is to appreciate greatness. And where I see this the most is on social media. Now this phrase, in theory, is fantastic. But when it comes to the appreciate greatness crowd, it's a one-way street. As for a lot of these so-called NBA fans, when they say appreciate greatness, it only applies to the modern NBA.
Watch Larry Bird try to get his game off. Watch this. Garbage! I don't want to hear nothing else about Larry Bird. Garbage!
Bro, you seen one play and you over here talking trash. Like, make it make sense, bro. The game speak for itself, and I bet you he better than you if you get your nah, listen. Excuse me, Fanny. My unprofessionalism just went out the window. Because I guarantee you he probably a potato couch, sitting on a couch, sitting here talking trash. Michael Jordan even admitted he took, I don't know how many shots and missed majority of them. Comment down below, family. You guys know the number. Maybe so exactly because I don't remember. But I know that before you reach greatness, you have to fail first. That's in anything, in a business, and your in a clothing brand, whatever you're trying to build. But at the end of the day, I do agree that they do not give respect to the Mount Rushmore, the people who impacted the NBA before and came before the modern NBA today. You know what I'm saying? But it's different eras. Like Larry Bird said, it's different areas. He did great in his era, and it lives on to now, today, and forever on, you know, because they are the pioneers. And you cannot, and if you actually a true supporter of a certain franchise in NBA, you have to go back and do your education, man.
And one player, of course, who catches a lot of heat from current-day NBA fans is Larry Bird. And if you watch his highlights, watch his game, just look at him as a basketball player. Doesn't really fit the bill as a great talent, just off the eye test. I mean, guys like Dr. J, Dominique Wilkins, high flyers in the 80s, they fit more the bill of what a great NBA player should look like and how they should play. And despite Bird being...
See, should look like or how they should play. That's the court of public opinion. Everybody want to be popular in the court of public opinion, but at the end of the day, let's look at the facts from a factual standpoint, the game itself. The player from how efficient, how strategic they were, their IQ, their mentality. From a mental standpoint, if you're not right mentally, none of your game will come together as a complete overall impactful player. And to be honest, I feel like the modern NBA took away the concept of doing their job. Like Larry Bird mentioned, he did his job and he understood the task that the Celtics would pay him and paid for him to win games. So every single night he gave himself and gave it all and put it on the line. Every single game right on the floor. Nowadays, people are looking for participation trophies. They're flopping. They're sitting here trying to chuck up threes. And don't get me wrong, Larry Bird did mention he was worrying about the guards back then because of the shooters back then because the three-point wasn't so popular. But now he's, you know, centers and so forth were the limelight and the center of the basketball in Larry Bird's era. But now today, Larry Bird mentioned he's more concerned of the centers because they got to know how to shoot threes. And even if you shoot like maybe, 30% of a three-point, you good now? Participation points, man. I don't feel like they earn it as much as they do now back then in the old NBA as they do in the modern NBA. Has it evolved? Yes. Can they put up more points? Yes. Has the player sustainability and longevity have expanded longer than has it ever been? Yes. Well, modern technology and everything else evolving? Most definitely. Love it. But that hunger, not a lot of people got it. To this day, if you want to be technical, Reggie Miller, like Larry Bird mentioned on his interview with NBA on TNT with Isaiah Thomas, Larry Bird himself, Larry Legend, and Reggie Miller and Indiana Glory. Go check out that video I reacted to just recently. He mentioned that not a lot of players had that hunger, and there's only a very few. And he mentioned Reggie Miller was one of them. He may know a couple guys, or but it's not few. It's not a lot, and it's barely a few. It's a couple. So come on, man.
Seeing both those guys in the playoffs, outplaying them numerous times. Larry Bird, by the eye test, doesn't get as much credit as he deserves.
Exactly.
As looking at fans today, what they say about Bird: too slow, can't jump, slow jump shot, and couldn't play defense. Now, even back in the 80s, nearly 40 years ago, people said the exact same thing about Bird in his prime.
Mm-hmm.
But looking at today's era, in the pace and space era, 35-43s per game, Larry Bird's skill set, quite literally, is built for the modern NBA.
Thank you. He set it up for the modern NBA to be what today NBA is. Larry Bird was one of the greatest three-point shooters. And trust me, there's many more, but he set it up. And also, that's like, for example, John Stockton. Illest point guard. Handles crazy. You know what I'm saying? So just imagine, you got Larry Bird. I feel like Larry Bird was obviously the beginning to what it is now for the Klay Thompson, Steph Curry era. And to recall that interview with Larry Bird with Isaiah Thomas and Reggie Miller with the Indiana's Glory on TNT, he mentioned how Klay Thomas only picked up the ball. He only dribbled the ball like maybe 3 to 6 times, if I recall correctly, and scored 38 points in 1 quarter just by catching and shooting. So you can't tell me, not only did Larry Bird master his craft of shooting the ball in an awkward way, but definitely it took a lot of shots. And as a shooter, you got to put up a lot of shots, as he said, to perfect his craft. Because obviously he said putting the ball in front of you, you can't see. So he put to the side of him. And then he mastered that. The arc, the three-point shooting, how magnificent he was, and a three-point shootout. He set it up to where greatness has even been greater for the individuals after him.
And what we're currently witnessing in Nikola Jokic is a slower and, quite frankly, fatter version of Larry Bird. I mean, when this year concluded...
And Larry Bird did mention that he enjoys Nikola Jokic's gameplay. He just hope he stays healthy and be able to have that longevity because he loved to see him on the floor. He went from being Golden State Warriors. He said because the Golden State Warriors usually bounce back with a big guy and they usually be healthy back then. But now he transferred over to really rocking with the Denver Nuggets. But he just more so concerned about his longevity and being taking care of himself to continue because his game is beautiful and he'll be fun to play with as a teammate if he could play with him. Nikola Jokic. And he's one of the ones. He has that hunger. See, a legend knows a legend. It's no explanation. What's understood don't need to be explained.
With Jokic, he could have 2 championships and 3 MVPs in 4 seasons. I mean, that is total domination by a guy who isn't even a top 100 athlete in today's era. Mm-hmm. And looking at Jokic's overall game, the passing, playmaking, scoring, how efficient he is while not being a great athlete, it debunks numerous narratives used against Larry Bird.
Facts. And he's a center,
all the time,
I believe.
Is that current day players are, quote, bigger, faster, and stronger. Now, Jokic himself just this year has debunked that narrative. As versus the Lakers in 3 games, playing Anthony Davis, an elite...
I mean, look at Luka Doncic. He's not the fastest.
Athlete, crazy wingspan, lateral quickness, 29 points, 12 boards, 9 assists on 58% shooting. If you were playing NBA 2K, when you build the perfect defender, Anthony Davis is the guy you would build. But even AD, being AD, still gets embarrassed by Jokic, who isn't half the athlete Larry Bird was in his prime. And just kind of speaking in generality,
AD needs some milk. AD needs some milk, man. He's right. Look at Nikola Jokic is bullying AD. No question about it. Still getting bullied.
When it comes to basketball, this game since day one has been about skill. Yes, being athletic is important to some players, but at the end of the day, skill determines how good you are and where you rank among the best players. Someone like Derrick Jones Jr., an athletic freak, could throw down windmills, reverse dunks. Even Derrick Jones Jr. had to reinvent himself as an actual basketball player, because if he didn't, he'd be like Terrence Ferguson, a great athlete with little or no skill. And LeBron back in 2017, he spoke on this exact same topic, saying there are current players in the NBA who, quote, do not know how to play basketball.
You're telling me there are players that play in the NBA professional players that don't know their role?
I'll take it one step further. There's a lot of players in the NBA that don't know how to play basketball.
They don't, and they in the NBA do not know how to play basketball.
But they can play basketball. I know how to play basketball. I can't play. There's guys on high level making millions.
It's some on the All-Star team right now.
On the All-Star team.
Wow.
You're looking to get a degree in
See, I feel like, okay, comment down below, family. This is an interesting conversation. What is the difference between knowing how to play basketball and, hold up, we're gonna go back to it. Because they said, go back to it.
Do not know how to play basketball.
But they can play basketball. I know how to play basketball.
So, do you believe that it's important to know how to play basketball or know how to play your role in basketball? I'm going with know how to play basketball, because if you know how to play basketball, you will naturally know what role you need to fulfill and what you need to give more of and what you need to take away skill-wise.
There's guys on high level making millions.
It's some on the All-Star team right now.
On the All-Star team.
Bad efficiency.
And when it comes to the current group of NBA players, the guys in the next era, I mentioned and spoke about numerous times. This era of players, they're great athletes.
Yeah, a lot of players don't box out no more. They really don't. It kills me on how they don't know how they don't go hard on a boxing out to crash more offensive boards, which leads to more putbacks or more defensive plays to get more to get more rebounds. Period. You know what I'm saying? Like the boxing out. And I do agree with Steve Kerr. Says fundamentals have declined, caused lack of box outs, a disease that rampant in the NBA. And then you wonder why individuals can't get more rebounds or recoup from a play that may haven't go as planned. Whatever play they were trying to execute.
But in terms of fundamental skill, severely lacking.
Greg Popovich labels current San Antonio Spurs player as neophytes, teaching fundamentals typically learned in college.
Now, what do you blame for that? Maybe skipping college, the high school game being a joke, AAU. There's a lot of stuff you can blame for lack of development with American players. But even guys in this era who are coaching, they're seeing the exact same thing that a lot of us see. Great athletes, not great skill. And looking back at Jokic this year, he's in his 9th NBA season, which coincidentally was Larry Bird's last year in his prime in 1988. And that's one thing with Bird that is quite sad. This guy's prime got cut short after only 9 seasons. And in terms of longevity, doesn't have that in the slightest. And when it comes to longevity, I've said it 1,000 times. ESPN, Twitter, Instagram, they're obsessed with longevity.
Yeah,
and the stat I saw from ESPN...
They are, because they're still questioning LeBron right now. How long is he going to last in the NBA? It's Father of Time catching up. And you have a legend like Larry Bird say, just enjoy him while you got him, man.
It's a typical ESPN stat. Showing LeBron James having more total points than Larry Bird Magic combined. Now, ESPN's intention for this stat was to highlight LeBron James and boost him up. But when I see this stat, I look at Larry Bird a guy who played 9 healthy years, in comparison to LeBron James, who's played 21. And think, how did someone like Bird manage 3 championships, 3 MVPs, only one less than LeBron in both those categories in nearly half the time? And despite Larry Bird having less than 22,000 career points, ranking 44th on that list all time, across the NBA, young fans, old fans, all regard this guy as a top 10 player in NBA history. And why I find that so special is looking at other NBA legends regarded as top 10 players of all time. You had LeBron James, 21 plus years, Kareem and Kobe played 20, Duncan and Shaq.
Well, we still got LeBron, I think he'll reach about 22, 23 years, maybe.
19, and then Hakeem, 8.
But they all have done less. Okay, they all have done more in a longer period of time versus Larry Bird done more in a shorter period of time.
Seasons. I mean, the fact Bird in a decade's time won 3 championships, 3 MVPs, that is quite remarkable. And if you want to talk offensive peaks for small forwards or just players in general, Bird's all-around game was something special. The scoring, passing, efficiency, clutch time play, and impact on winning. Larry Bird checked all those boxes. And looking at the numbers, from 85 to 88, this guy, 28.1 points.
3 years, he's doing close to Nikola Jokic
10
numbers.
boards, the 7 assists on 51, 41, and 90 splits. And like I said earlier, Larry Bird's prime was cut short at only age 31. As during 1988, at age 31, averaged 29.9 points, the highest in his career to that point.
And went out strong, too.
And still looking at prime Bird, those 4 years, on average, took 2.5 threes per game. Now, of course, compared to the modern day players, the modern day teams, that number is egregiously low.
Yeah.
But looking at Bird's scoring, when he came into the NBA, many forget, he was a power forward and a double-double machine for a long, long time. And a lot of his points came at the rim, in the paint, off post-ups, and mid-range jump shots. For today's players, the mid-range game, in-between game, is virtually non-existent and a lost art.
Yep.
And once you get past that first line of defense that is so extended past the 3, I mean, that mid-range game becomes oh so valuable. And looking at Bird's own era.
Look at Chris Paul, for example. Obviously, he's not a power forward, but look at Devin Booker, Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown. They keep it at the mid-range. I mean, they do a couple threes, but when they realize after a while, look, this mid-range, ain't nothing wrong with it. Nikola Jokic, too. They do what they got to do to win.
Guys like Kareem, Mark Eaton.
And wait, family. Do you believe it's important to do what you have to do to win? Or do you believe that it's more important to worry about your overall points, stats? Stats don't win games, I feel like. But comment down below. Do you believe that stats can help win games or stats can help win games? Do you believe that's important to focus on stats or focus on the overall objective to win the game? Let's have a conversation.
Moses Malone, among others. Those guys in the paint gave Larry Bird hell. And while they did, his bigs back then had no 3-second rule. I mean, that rule single-handedly changed the NBA forever. I mean, listen to Luka Doncic, a current NBA player, citing this one rule why NBA scoring is so much easier than past eras and European basketball.
You said that scoring 30 in the NBA was, hold on.
I know
you said scoring 30 in the NBA was way easier than scoring in Europe.
But when I said that, a lot of people didn't agree with me. It was like 2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
And I think now they're starting to agree more and more. But I always say it's because of the rules. The 3 seconds in the paint and defense is huge. I don't think people realize how huge that is. Because, when I'm isoing, I watch the defender in the paint. So he got to go out at some point. So when he's going out, I try to attack. So that's a huge difference.
I mean, if Larry Bird in the early 80s was a walking 24-10
I believe I know what he's saying now because the 3 points in the paint is a huge deal because if they stay in the paint, you know, then obviously you can get some more points because then it's like a 3 second whatever. But I feel like he's saying in Europe, when he played in Iceland, he said eventually the big man has to be out the paint sooner than later so he could just attack. So I feel like in Europe there may be more constant movement where actually the NBA gives a little bit of leg room where you can be in the paint a little bit longer. And then if you will, obviously the 3 second rule can obviously help you with the potential to have more points because if they stay in it too long, then it's penalizing the other team, and then the other team could put more points on the board to stay in the lead or uphold the lead or come back, you know, and gain the lead.
Versus bigs in the paint who could camp there. What do you do in this era with a wide open paint that had the 3 second rule? And once again, looking back at that idiotic stat by ESPN, those types of funky stats, meaningless longevity stats, social media eats those up every day of the week.
Yep.
And like I said earlier, Larry Bird, when it comes to all-time scoring, he ranks 44th currently. And by the end of the 2030s, Giannis will pass him, Dame will pass him, Beal, PG, Anthony Davis, even Kyrie Irving. When this decade's over, Larry Bird will be top 50 in scoring. And despite that, will still be a top 10 player all time.
Yep.
Like I've said in numerous videos, when it comes to peak versus longevity, a player's peak is much more precise for judging how good they were and how effective they were as an NBA superstar. Someone's longevity, I mean, to a certain extent, a good picture of them, but not the greatest way to evaluate a player and judge their career. So
I agree, because the peak shows the highest level of skill set they can obviously reach superstardom, and the longevity just shows, okay, they lasted in the NBA. But okay, the peak is how efficient they were, how strongly efficient were they during their longevity, during their time of longevity. So comment down below, family, do you believe longevity is important in the NBA or the peak stardom of a player is more important in the NBA? I believe the peak.
So that right there is the end of the video. As always, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.
Because I believe the peak, you can analyze their skill sets and what they really bring to the game to be as valuable as they are, and the reason why they're in the NBA in the first place. But what value can they bring to the NBA that can last long for generations to come, where they can utilize those same skill sets and even more greater as time change era after era? That's why I choose peak over longevity. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, family. Let the love supersede the hate. Spread that peace, love, and positivity. Until next time, family, as always, peace.